So I just, it's like magic sometimes what happens when we come together. Dino had no idea that I was going to do the welcome and talk about my trans-beloved Avery, and then shared that poem and your little blingy necklace with your cute self. So it's like magic sometimes, and I'm just so grateful. I am so grateful for this community, and I am so grateful that we have created a space and an environment where everybody gets to show up authentically as the truth of who they are. And we celebrate that truth. Yes. So that's really what today is about. That's, what I want to talk about. We've been in a process in this series of clearing the way so that we can plant the seeds for the future we want, the flippin' fantastic future we want, right? So this future that you and I want to seed, the change we want to see in the world, the transformations we want to see in our own lives, the beauty we want to see blossom in this spring, all of that we began with emptying and clearing the space so that it could come. Right? We've been raking out our garden beds, we've been pulling weeds, and so that we can really plant the seeds of a delightful future. And it's in the practice of centering our joy. It is in the practice of centering and delighting in the truth of our own nature, the truth of spirit, the truth of love, and pulling our attention back from all the chaos and all the noise and all the BS so that we can do what Avery considered. Can we put that picture back up? Because I wanted to share the question that Avery posed after. What if, when things are at their worst, it is paradoxically a time that catalyzes not just resilience, but tremendous creativity, power, and profound possibility? What if, in the face of some of our darkest moments, some of the biggest storms, in the midst of systems and structures crumbling and, a country more polarized and divided than ever, what if this is the very time that lights us into a possibility and a creativity and the access to our true power, the power of our divinity, the power of vision, the power of seeding possibility because we are anchored deeply in our joy? Or as Avery said, we opt out of the BS. We opt out. We choose something else. So that we, not to go la, 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 not to put blinders on and ignore the reality we are living in, but so that we can show up in it more powerfully and truthfully and able than ever. But in order to do that, we have to do something that Khalil Gibran mentions in this poem. So what we just sang about, right? The earth delights to feel your bare feet and the wind longs to play with your hair, which I just, how gorgeous is that? Right? If that's not delightful, I don't know what is. But that's the last two lines of the piece. So I'm going to share with you the whole piece, which comes from The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, which was, by the way, written in 1923. Super relevant, continues to be relevant. The weaver said, "Speak to us of clothes." And he answered, "Your clothes conceal much of your beauty, yet they hide not the unbeautiful. And though you seek in garments the freedom of privacy, you may find in them a harness and a chain. Would that you could meet the sun and the wind with more of your skin and less of your raiment. For the breath of life is in the sunlight, and the hand of life is in the wind. Some of you say it is the north wind who has woven the clothes we wear. And I say, aye, it was the north wind. But shame was his loom, and the softening of sinews was his thread. And when his work was done, he laughed in the forest. Forget not that modesty is for a shield against the eye of the unclean. And when the unclean shall be no more, what were modesty but a fetter and a fouling of the mind? And forget not that the earth delights to feel your bare feet, and the winds long to play in your hair. So that was the whole piece.
Woo, let's get naked in the forest.
Let's get naked in the forest. That is one possibility. That is one possibility in a flippin' fantastic future. But let's talk about why we might want to get naked. Because that's really, Khalil is saying, and I've been talking to you about peeling away armor, taking off the costumes, making way, emptying, so that the truth, the love, the beauty, the wisdom of the divine has room and a place to blossom and renew and come forth. But if you and I haven't opted out of the crazy, haven't opted out of what the north wind insists you wear, because that's what he's talking about. We put on costumes, we put on armor, we shape ourselves, we allow ourselves to be shaped or influenced by all of this outer chaos. We allow ourselves to contort and shrink and hide and protect and conceal in reaction to what's happening out there. Other people's opinions, other people's BS, even other people's threats. Which is one of the reasons why I chose someone who is trans and non-binary to inspire us to be braver. Because it's a choice to hide, right? Even in the face of enormous threat and real physical danger. And Khalil is saying, if that threat was gone, maybe you would be naked in the woods, right? The costume you wear is made by something out there. And then he says, by the soft sinew, it is woven, which means by your vulnerability, by the places where you feel weak, you create the costume and the armor. And what if it was the places you feel powerful that you adorn yourself? What if it's the places that you feel true and authentic and full of your divinity that you choose to walk with a little more skin available to the sun? This is the invitation of a flippin' fantastic future. If you and I really want to see change in the world, if you and I really want to see division and polarity melt away and oneness rise, which is the call of a spiritual life, by the way, we must be willing to have the courage and the bravery to center our truth and our joy and the love that we are and that spirit is and is trying to express through your aliveness. But if your aliveness is hidden, under cover, under armor, in a costume, you can't actually contribute to the flippin' fantastic future that you and I are deeply desiring. Right? So we're going to do an exercise today, but I want you to consider, before we get into an exercise, the seeds you want. Right? What you think you want in your future, what you think you want for the world, for the planet, for your kids, for your grandbabies, for your neighbors, for your community. What if the seed that is most needed to get planted in the garden of life is you? You are the seed that needs to blossom into a new becoming. You are the seed that needs to participate in the collective wholeness that we want to see as the manifest reality of harmony, of peace. Justice. My favorite definition of justice is what love looks like in public, from Cornell West. What love looks like in public is you a little more naked, you a little less guarded, a little more emboldened by centering the truth of who you are, to be that voice out in the world, to be a stand for love, to be a stand for peace and harmony and justice, to be willing to be seen. A willingness to participate in the only way that you can, which is you authentically alive out in the world. Unmasked. That's what Khalil Gibran was talking about. And because you get unmasked, because you peel off some of those layers, life itself gets to delight in you, which is the whole point of this thing. It may appear that we all come here to like the life school to learn lessons and suffer and then grow as a result. It happens. That has happened to me. It's been happening a lot lately. I'm not going to call that my purpose, though. It's a part of the deal. My purpose is delight. My purpose is blossoming and blooming more fully and more wholly as the truth of who I am. That's my purpose. Do I have to go to life school sometimes to get one of those layers off? To learn how to take off the mask? To put down the BS I was handed? So I can free myself to be a little bit more alive and true? Yes, sometimes I have to go to school, and I hate it. And I'm sure you do too. Sometimes I suffer. Sometimes I grieve and I cry and I pout and I wish it were different. But that is not my purpose. That is not your purpose. We live in a benevolent universe. God is love. We say this all the time. We have t-shirts. But how much do we center that as the most important thing in our lives? Because if we want to plant seeds of delight, then we've got to be in the business of centering delight. We can't have seeds from a plant that has never grown. Right? Seeds come because something has blossomed to its completeness. So much so, it is ready to give seeds of its awesomeness to the next generation. That's how plant life works. So if you want seeds of goodness and seeds of possibility and love and beauty and harmony and justice and peace, they must have already matured in you so that you can offer them back to life. So for you to mature into the fullness of your being, of your divine design, you gotta get bare. You have to strip away what is untrue about you, what is holding you back and holding you in. Yes, is it giving you privacy? Is it giving you some form of protection from the elements? Yes, that's all true. But if all you're doing is protecting and hiding and in defense all the time, how do you grow into your fullness? How do you opt out of the things that are holding you in, holding you back? How do you begin to put the fear down long enough to consider another possibility? Practice. You practice that. You practice centering your joy. You rest and nourish your authentic self. You decide that your joy is more important than your fear. You decide that you, completely nourished and fulfilled, is the best antidote and contribution to the world, to these times. This is how you become an activist that actually has a possibility of creating impact and change. It is you centered and grounded in the truth of who you are, you at your most powerful. It is not you defended and armored and shrunken down. It is you wide open and ready to meet it, able to meet it, full of yourself, full of the divine. And the more you practice this, the more you are able to be that. I want to share with you the way that Avery ended their newsletter this week. They said, "I've been practicing a lot, and I have a lot of prana inside. We can be stronger together. If you feel depleted, come to class. I have extra energy to share with you. If you feel hopeless, I have hope to share with you. If you feel hazy, I can share some focus with you. The yoga will vitalize us." I've been practicing a lot. This is why Avery has extra to share. This is why even on days when I think, ooh, y'all, I don't know how I'm going to come over here and help you do a thing. And then I practice. And I practice some more. And then I'm like, ooh, I'm going to need a new practice. I had to dance it out this morning so I could get ready for you today. I practice a lot so that I have overflow to share. You get to be that amazing blossom in the garden that everybody stops, ooh, when they walk by and go, wow. That's the contribution you get to make to life itself because you practice. Because you center the truth of who you are as the most important thing. And you find the practices that help you do it. And you might have to find them every day. You might have to find another extra something some days. But because you do, you get to be the place where the hopeless can get a little hope. You get to be the place where somebody who is ready to take off a layer of armor, you get to be their first receiver and their biggest cheerleader. That's who you get to be because you practice. So this is the part where I give homework, and this is true for you online as well. So I'm going to ask Jordana if she would put on, if you don't know about our new app, this is one of the ways you can practice and be supported in it. You don't have to make it up. And this is here for you every day, every month. We put all the series, and we put in things for you to practice with. So you'll see there, we film my sermons every week. Those are there. You can just listen to them as a podcast if you choose. And there's a thing called a series guide you'll see. And if you could put the next slide, Jordana. So this is just a little smidge of what's in the series guide that Clarissa makes for you every month based on our topic. So there's a section in there called the practices. And these are a few of this month's practices. We are fasting and abstaining, right? That was our emptying process. That was the practice we were getting into. It is still happening for those of you doing Lent and Ramadan. And then there is design a day of delight and rest, a Sabbath practice that we've borrowed from the Jewish tradition. And those are just a few of the practices that are in there that you could begin to incorporate. And I want you to pick the ones that actually begin to nourish that joyful, delightful love that you are. Thank you, Jordana. So you have homework, but we're going to do a little bit of the homework now. One of the other practices this month that we were talking about on the app is visioning. And there's lots of ways to do visioning, right? There's lots of ways you can vision board. You can develop a vision statement for your flippin' fantastic future. There's lots of ways to vision, but today we're going to do a practice together that was developed by Reverend Michael Beckwith from the Agape International Center. I think it's a beautiful, prayerful way to begin to catch a vision for your life, for your flippin' fantastic future. So if you are someone who likes to take notes, there's going to be some questions that I offer through this process. Take notes. The beautiful Carol Campbell is in the back with journals and pens. Raise your hand if you would like one. You are also welcome to use your phone. We've got hands here, and then we've got at least two up front. Carol, thank you. We're going to have some music going, and we're going to take our time with this. We're going to probably take about the next 10 minutes in a guided meditation to do some visioning for your flippin' fantastic future. And then for those of you who get anxious and you didn't hear me and you forgot what I just said, I'm going to have the questions up on the wall. You can refer back. All right, anybody else need a pen or a journal? I'm going to tell you a little bit about visioning as we get started. This is what Michael Beckwith has to say about visioning. He says it's becoming a space of deep listening, available to hear Spirit's highest vision or idea, a process by which we hear, feel, see, or catch God's plan for any particular something we might be working on, like a flippin' fantastic future. Is visioning different from visualization? Yes, it is. Visualization is mentally seeing the things that you wish to have or to do. You might visualize yourself giving a successful speech. Visioning is catching God's idea, Spirit's idea, the divine's idea. We are not telling God what we want. We are sensing into a divine idea for us or for the vision. It is wonderful. It is beyond our imagination. We are opening the way for that which is unlimited to come into view, into our experience, into life. We are volunteering ourselves as a place in consciousness that is available to allow the perfection and wholeness of the one life to become manifest. I'm going to say that again. We are volunteering ourselves to be the place for the one life to come into manifest form through our life. This is what visioning is. We do it because there is a spiritual ideal, a prototype that undergirds everything that is. In visioning, we make ourselves available to becoming that idea. We are the conduits for the vision to be revealed.